いざとなったら私が女の何たるかをきっちり教えてあげるわ。
I was just like, holy shit, I'm a furry now because of this.
綺麗な人だったな。
So here's a little tidbit from my personal life. I'm currently in the process of getting ready to move across the country, so I've been pretty occupied with all the work that entails. Not wanting my channel to become a graveyard, I told myself, you know what's faster than reviewing games? Reviewing movies. And given the gaming nature of my channel and the fact that I'm about to make a big move, what better to review than a movie based off a game about moving? So Animal Crossing DS, also known as Animal Crossing Wild World, sold a lot. Like a lot. Within the first few months, that entry sold over 3 million copies in Japan alone, which already exceeded the sales of the GameCube version worldwide. To follow up that game's success, a film adaptation entered production, Dobotsu no Mori, aka Animal Crossing the movie. Generally, when you think of the term video game movie, it's not unlikely that your mind immediately goes to some Americanized live-action bullcrap. I mean, that's usually what they are.
So, I know what you're thinking. Why is that incredibly...
The Animal Crossing movie immediately gets brownie points for not only being 2D animated, but for being very faithful to the source material as well. In fact, the opening scene with Cap'n is nearly identical to the conversation you have of him in Wild World when starting a new game. It's almost insane how faithful this film could be at times. You'll see the interior of a house for like 3 seconds and it's all, holy crap, that's a furniture item in the game, that's in the game, that's in the game. Hell, even that wallpaper is in the game. Well, mostly faithful anyways. There's a part of the movie where they take some boat to some secret alcove to find some fossils, and the whole time I'm just sitting there asking, why the hell can't you do that in the games? But I'm getting ahead of myself. What's the story? Our main character, Ai, is a young girl moving to Animal Village to start her new life all on her own. She's dropped off at the town hall where she's introduced to Pelly and Mayor Tortimer, who much like the games is just a giant meme on legs, and is told that a raccoon named Tom Nook is her landlord and has the keys to her new place. By the way, Tom Nook is a total asshole in this movie. So in the games, he shows you your house, and when he asks you for your rent up front, you're the asshole, because your character is like, well, I actually don't have any money. But in those games, Nook is such a nice guy, he's like, look, I'll tell you what, you work for me for a bit, and we'll consider that payment. Meanwhile, in the movie, young Ai deadass just goes up to pick up her keys for her house. And Nook is all, nah, bitch, you working for me if you want to step foot in the house you already paid for.
今すぐバイトを始めてもらうだなんも。
バイト？
But then being the innocent, gullible kid that she is, she's just like, oh, okay, if you say so. But she takes the work as an opportunity to introduce herself to the residents of the town, aka the characters we'll be spending time with for the rest of the film. Rosie, an energetic but self-absorbed cat, Margie, a well-tempered elephant that designs clothing, you and Alfonso, a human boy and alligator that are constantly getting into trouble, Brewster, Apollo, Whitney. There are just so many characters, and you're let into little snippets of their life and what kind of people they are as the movie progresses. And from there, not a whole lot happens. It just sort of follows Ai and the everyday happenings of her life. A bit of a coming-of-age tale, if you will. That might sound pretty bad, but much like a film like My Neighbor Totoro, the laid-back nature of the film works well thanks to some very likable characters and a great art style. I mean, they just nailed the Animal Crossing aesthetic. The backgrounds have this playful, pastel, watercolor look to them. The progression of the film leads to the viewing of all 4 seasons. The music is great too. It's mostly arrangements from the songs in DS, but with real instruments. And it's really pleasant. Honestly, that's the best way to describe this movie. It's just a really cozy film that engrosses you into the pleasant and vibrant world that they create. It's like a trip to Disneyland. Sure, on the outside reality sucks and you're constantly depressed, but then you step into that park and just for a moment, you're not worried about any of that life stuff. Well, until you step back out of the park again. Aw, shit, I still need to do my taxes. The closest this movie gets to having any sort of confrontation is towards the second act where Margie moves to another town to pursue her designing career. I think the moping around Ai does as a result drags on a little too long, but given it's basically the biggest conflict in the entire film, and it does at least fit the themes established, I think it works okay. So there's that. But otherwise, the only real semblance of plot is at the very end where they basically force one in. It's like the writers did a whole hour of cozy-ass slice of life BS, and then we're like, oh shit, we forgot to add a plot. How are we going to end this film? So they have some UFO crash down, which, to be fair, this character and the UFO are from the Animal Crossing Wild World game. His ship pieces scatter all across the town, and apparently he can't go home until they're located. And then even though everybody in the town just met this guy, there is nothing more important than making sure he can get back home. This leads into a climax where Yu has to climb a huge dinosaur fossil they found earlier to retrieve the last piece that has conveniently landed on the tippy top of the fossil. Yu gets the gear, almost dies, then when they get back is when the real weird stuff happens. It turns into a freaking X-Files episode or something with some really out of place CGI. The gear was actually some weird jelly alien that could shapeshift and fly, and a bunch of other ships come down to get it back. What the hell does any of this have to do with Animal Crossing? Remember that part in Animal Crossing where the mothership comes down to save its sentient Mercury baby? I don't. The aliens are grateful for the return of their baby, so they make some constellation in the sky that looks like Ai, and the final resolution of the movie is Ai winning some winter festival contest because it's her face in the sky. What the fuck? What the hell did I do besides happen to be the one to carry the gear back? Wasn't it you that almost died retrieving it? Anyways, Animal Crossing the movie has definitely got its problems, and I would never call this a great movie or anything, but it's an enjoyable one. It's a film that achieves the same effect as the game, that effect being to immerse a viewer into a heartwarming world where they can just relax. Not to mention, a lot of the comedy actually works pretty well. There's one visual joke in particular that made me laugh pretty hard. Not an amazing film, but an enjoyable one. Animal Crossing the movie is a cozy film that is very respectful towards the source material. Check it out if you're a fan of the series. Hey, thanks for watching. This was supposed to be up last month until I got extremely ill for 3 weeks. Oops. Anyways, I'd like to give a shout out to patrons such as Abby Knutson, Amanda Guth, Benson Lucht, Cashnader, David Pacheco, Jeffrey P. Long, John Hancock, Michael Moose, Oliver Lorkosh, Praetorian Mars, Raffi, and Rami Batter. Don't be like me and get sick. Eat healthy, kids. But until next time, have a good one.